The single biggest way to impact an organization is to focus on leadership development. There's almost no limit to the potential of an organization that recruits good people, raises them up as leaders, and continually develops them. These words of author John Maxwell hold true for my guests today. With over 30 years of experience in the financial services sector, Renuka Ramnath has always been a believer that when the time comes, things happen. Not one to rest just on fate and serendipity, Renuka took many risks, pivoting from being a banker to an entrepreneur at ICICI Bank and then to an entrepreneur who decided to venture into the world of private equity investing with her startup Multiples Asset Management, with close to $3 billion of assets under management in a portfolio of 30 plus companies today. A self-confessed worshipper of entrepreneurship, Renuka is hoping to fuel the dreams of India's dreamers. It was on a plane trip that you decided the things in your life were going to be different.
When I sat in the plane, I said, I'm not going to look back because this is an opportunity for me to come back as a new person. The program was all about entrepreneurship, the near-death experience they have with their businesses. I was dying to have the same experience.
Really?
Liberating myself from being an employee into launching yourself into the world of entrepreneurship. I just felt that I should give myself a chance. I should not be afraid of failure. So in Multiples, we worship entrepreneurship. You have to identify the blind spot and be that supportive investor. Indian families, now they are realizing that their children are not going to be interested to succeed. There are more exciting opportunities the subsequent generations want to pursue. Private equity is a very, very important source of achieving this. What VCP industry has done is really democratized capital and unleashed entrepreneurship in India.
Two young women who are looking at starting out, what is it that you would tell them?
I would tell them that, double down on your conviction. Brazen yourself, become very thick-skinned.
ICICI Bank is a classic example where women flourished.
If I was not in ICICI, with that cohort of women, there is no way today's Renuka Ramnath can exist. Good to have you.
I should have also worn a sari.
In Multiples.
How are you? Good to see you. Your therapy is also cleaning. Like me, I'm OCD about cleaning. So it's music, painting, and what else do you do outside of work?
No, I do a lot of yoga.
Oh, really?
Training, walking. On the physical side, Vipassana meditation.
Okay, nice.
Is another thing that I do.
How long?
Otherwise, just engaging with art. I love buying art without knowing where I will put it up.
What kind of music are you listening to these days?
Both classical and film music. Yeah, and instrument.
Do you sing?
I used to sing. I am a trained singer.
Really?
No, I trained for 25 years, from the age of 3 till the age of 25.
Wow.
Formal classical Carnatic music. Yeah. But given up also for that many. But I sing only for my grandchildren.
You know, I remember very distinctly, and I think I was watching an interview of yours where you said that you were always unmanageable, that you always believed that you should work alone because you're the most effective when you do things by yourself. So you've always been an entrepreneur at heart.
Absolutely, yeah. And I have to place huge gratitude to ICICI, the institution, and all my bosses, starting from super boss, Mr. Kamath, to all the other leaders like Lalita, Kalpana, Shika, who all nurtured, this entrepreneurial spirit in me and tolerated me for several decades. Yeah.
I'm given to understand that it was on a plane trip while you were going to the US to study at Harvard that you decided the things in your life were going to be different when you came back. And that was, in a way, the trigger or the start of your entrepreneurial dream. I won't say journey, but the start of the entrepreneurial dream. Take me through why that plane ride was so significant for you.
So, when I requested ICICI to sponsor me for AMP, this was something that came from my heart. It was not that ICICI had a very structured program where they would send their senior leaders for this course or something like that. And again, Mr. Kamath was so ready in sponsoring that. And when I sat in the plane, I said, I'm not going to look back. I'm not going to keep in touch on what's happening in ICICI, what deal, who's getting promoted, who got what increment, because this is an opportunity for me to come back as a new person. The program was all about entrepreneurship and the struggles that entrepreneurs, the near-death experience they have with their businesses. A normal professional would have got so hassled by, reading and going in depth into the experience of these entrepreneurs and would have said, oh, this is not for me. I should keep far away from it. And I was dying to have the same experience.
Really?
So how do I go through those trials and tribulations to build enterprises? So I came back and again requested Mr. Kamath, can you give me an opportunity to do e-commerce or wealth management, which are the two big gaps.
You dabbled with the payment gateway as well.
Absolutely. So I went to a conference, just a routine banking conference, along with my then boss, Mr. Anand Mukherjee, and I saw Check Free. And I just got so inspired by the Check Free model, I said, hey, I'm going to go and build this in India. And again, because ICICI was an organization that encouraged innovation and new ideas, on the piece of a memo that I wrote, I got 15 crores of capital. And then I sent an internal mail to see who will volunteer to kind of set this up. I had an internal person, Bikramjit Sen, who put up his hand. And it was just reinventing this whole payment, bill payment business. We also set up our India's first payment gateway. My colleague Bhargav, was leading that initiative. Again, motivation came from me, and he was the guy who kind of built it out. And, we had to look into what are India's guidelines, what are RBI norms, which are very different from the clearing processes in the US. If I had not done those entrepreneurial ventures, probably I wouldn't have had the kind of training that I had to nurture other entrepreneurs through the investing business.
But you still, Renuka, had the sort of, the ICICI Bank name, the ICICI Bank legacy, and that's a significant legacy to sort of fall back on. So the decision to then say, I'm going to do this by myself. I'm actually going to start something of my own. How much of that was the belief that you wanted to try something different? How much of it was experience of having worked through some of these ventures that you decided, okay, I'm ready now to take the plunge?
So one, Shereen, in terms of conceptualizing a business, how do you go and sell the business to other stakeholders, whether it is building the team or getting the customers to buy from you or finding the capital? All of this training I had when I was in ICICI itself. The question was, can you just stand on your feet and will the market trust you? So what I said was, like how you would launch any new product, you would do a market test, right? You would choose your micro markets and you will go and try to sell the product and then get all the criticism and then improvise the product and then stage it to the world. I did the same thing. So I wrote my exit mail to a whole bunch of people in India who matter. Like Mr. Deepak Parekh, Mr. Sunawala, so many people at that time. And I went and met them and I said, look, I'm thinking of doing something on my own. Do you think it can happen? And each of them said, you could do this, but I wonder whether you have this, right? I'm sure you'll do a great job in investing, but do you have the money to set up your own firm? I'm sure you will get the money and you will do good investments, but will good people join you? And each of it, instead of rubbishing it, I would come home and think about it deeply and say that, if this is going to be a big problem, how am I going to overcome this?
So they actually helped you refine your proposal.
Exactly right. And understand what are the shortcomings in my proposal and how do I fill up the gap and how do I present myself. And some very interesting ideas came about there saying that, hey, you don't have to pay your service providers with your own money. You can have a deal with them that when you become successful, you will pay them. I also reduced the amount of my personal money I had to burn, so to speak, before multiples became, had revenues of its own. So it was, I would say, one of my most beautiful experience of liberating myself from being an employee into the launching yourself into the world of entrepreneurship, and seeing how much goodness, how much trust, how much goodwill, how many good ideas and support come your way if you have a strong will to kind of do something new.
And an open mind, because I have to say, it's not easy to put yourself through that test, to put yourself up for scrutiny, because I think all of us only want to hear the good stuff, right? But when somebody comes back with feedback that could potentially be deterrents, that could be hurdles, that could be seen as weaknesses, were you afraid of how you would respond possibly to that?
Yeah, so Shereen, I didn't start multiples thinking that I'll definitely be successful. There were many other offers as well that came along the way, which could have de-risked my entrepreneurial journey. There were many institutions who said, take our business, you keep 26%. Some said, you keep 74%, and so on and so forth. But I just felt that I should give myself a chance. I should not be afraid of failure. I'm going to set myself exactly a 1-year target, and I'm not going to be endlessly pursuing this.
So what was the 1-year target that you had set?
At the end of 1 year, I wanted to pay myself salary. That was the target. So
how much salary did you take at the end of a year?
So I took enough to run my household, but the idea was that will you become revenue positive? So financially, I was extremely disciplined. I didn't have any baggage because this was a startup. All you had to do was to go out and raise money.
You were talking about those exit letters that you sent out. Was there an exit letter before the exit to Mr. Kamath? How did he react to it?
No, I would say that, Mr. Kamath has nurtured all of us, and, I owe everything I am to him. But for the opportunities, the guidance and the challenges that he placed along the way, I would not have emerged as the professional that I did.
Since we're talking about Mr. Kamath and ICICI Bank, Renuka, I want to ask you this because this is the common perception, right? Which we have heard ad nauseum, that women don't support each other, that if you have women in leadership roles within an organization, they very often pull each other down. I mean, ICICI Bank is a classic example where women flourished, women thrived across different roles pretty much at the same time. How do you explain that?
No, I would say that if I was not in ICICI, with that cohort of women who supported me through my several personal and professional challenges, there is no way today's Renuka Ramnath can exist. In fact, being in a cohort, being in a group of high women achievers who are pulling each other up, and who are lending a shoulder in your downtime is what was singularly responsible for us all to kind of float and emerge and come out so successful. So it's I would say they're completely baseless comment.
Where do you think it comes from, this perception that, it has been handed out across generations? Where do you think this stems from?
No, I guess people, these are all old cliched beliefs that women gossip, they are very jealous and they can't see other people successful. Like many other baseless assumptions about, if you're an unmarried woman, will you continue working after you get married? If you're pregnant, will you even come back after your maternity leave? These are all, completely unestablished biases coming from several generations. Even when I was in college, Shereen, many boys would say that I'm a wasted seat. I went to VJTI, which is a government college, and there used to be a lot of resentment that, this government is spending this money to educate you and get you an engineering degree, and all you're going to do is to get married and raise children. That is bad.
But did they actually say that to you, to your face?
They did at that time. But we are talking about 1978 to 82. That is, that's how much understanding there was, about how much women can contribute to the growth of this economy, and what does a woman's determination really mean?
Yeah, well, speaking of biases, Renuka, when you finally decided to start, and it's been a 15-year journey for you at multiples, and the private equity venture capital market in India was very different 15 years ago, especially as far as the domestic market was concerned, and especially as far as homegrown private equity companies were concerned. What was the big challenge that you faced then when you actually went out looking for capital?
Yeah, so Shereen, I would say I faced an even bigger challenge when I went out to raise capital as part of ICICI Venture.
Really?
Because the market was even more nascent, right? One had to really go and sell this private equity product. And given how vibrant Indian capital markets are, IPO markets have been, right? I mean, from the 80s, people couldn't understand, why do you need private capital? What's the big purpose it's serving? Knowing fully well that the awareness around this product is very, very low, there is a lot of skepticism. And two, it's a very risky product. At the end of the day, you're giving long-term risk capital to enterprises, and it could go either way.
Either way,
I did one very good thing of deeply engaging these institutions.
Okay.
So I created two committees. There was an investment committee and there was an advisory committee. And I made sure that these institutions had representatives in both the committees.
Okay.
And I would go take a lot of effort and get my team to present up to the minutest detail about how investment, divestment decisions are being taken, the challenges of nurturing these enterprises. I could have chosen the other path of saying, hey, I've got the money. They have written a document where we alone take the decisions. Why should I involve them? I knew that the only way to build a business is by getting all your stakeholders on board, keep them deeply engaged, be extremely transparent, and get their support 100%. I want to recount a very interesting experience. When I got purchased Tata Infomedia from the Tata Group, it was a very big deal because Tata Group has never sold any business, and they were, for the first time, selling a business. And that too to a faceless entity called a private equity. Right? If it went from Tata Group to Birla Group, it would have been another matter. For whatever reason, the company bore the name Media. It was called Tata Infomedia. The circumstance was such that the CEO had to be replaced with a new CEO. And it was an important decision to be taken and implemented. Equally, I wasn't sure how the press will react. And more importantly, by reading the press, what our investors would react. So I was calling various chairmen of banks to tell them that this is going to happen, don't get hassled, I'm on top of the situation. So one bank chairman said, did I read the newspaper before I gave you money? I trusted your competency. Don't worry about what newspapers would write, So tremendous support. I firmly believe that the strength of a private equity or any alternate asset management institution comes from the stability of the investor base. How much trust you enjoy with them, how learned they are, and how deeply they are vested in the business and understanding of your investing style and the stability that they need to provide.
And a lot has changed in India, globally of course as well, but even in India as far as the maturity of the private equity and the venture capital market is, the startup ecosystem has changed dramatically in the last 15 years. And that's what I want to talk to you about as well. What we're seeing today is India has emerged as the second largest market in Asia Pacific as far as private equity is concerned. 2024, a record year as far as exits are concerned. 2024, also a record year in terms of domestic capital raised by private equity players. Finally, do you believe that this is the moment that you've been working towards, that you've been waiting for over the last 15 years?
Yes, I would like to say this is the moment, but I still think that The moment is probably another 2-3 years away.
Okay. So this is a mini moment.
This is stepping stone to kind of the moment. Of course, in terms of attracting foreign capital, last year, 2024, we attracted about $56 billion from about $11 billion in 2014, which is a significant growth in 10 years. There's a lot of family office and private wealth interest in this product. But as far as institutional capital from India is concerned, including pension funds, we have not done well at all. So once that happens, I would say the moment has come. So I think as a country, we should have a strategy in mind. Because at the end of the day, what we are sharing with global investors is the wealth that is being created by the Indian economy.
Yes.
Indian consumers, Indian market, and all of that stuff. What is a fair split for the risk between how much the Indian savers will keep and how much we will export to the global world? I think a much more comprehensive look and enablement around that would create a moment. The second moment, a lot of people ask me how long you will keep working. I keep saying the moment hasn't come, what I have been aspiring for. I see the biggest opportunity in institutionalization of ownership. Indian families, now they are realizing that their children are not going to be interested to succeed. There are more exciting opportunities the subsequent generations want to pursue. And they all want to call out something as their own rather than taking the reins from their father or grandfather. And also consolidation to create mega corporations will be an absolute must to compete in the global marketplace and win, because you need to invest in technology, research, and brand and good talent. For both of these, private equity is a very, very important source of achieving this. Private equity firms will buy. We've seen enough transactions, but this will go tenfold in the next 3 to 5 years and probably 100-fold in the next 10 years. I'm waiting to see that moment.
So you're talking about family businesses institutionalizing, selling out. 2024 has also been probably a record year in terms of buyouts by private equity in India. In that context, I want to get you to weigh in on what we heard from Uday Kotak, which of course then created quite a stir, with him saying that, look, we're now dealing with the next generation that's happy to be money managers, wealth managers, but don't want to get their hands dirty and turn entrepreneur. And he sees that as a risk for India. But you're saying that, you don't necessarily see that as a risk.
So I would say that what BCP industry has done is really democratized capital and unleashed entrepreneurship in India, right? If you talk to Dipinder or you talk to any number of those genre of entrepreneurs, they would say it was because capital came to us, backing a winning idea, that we could go out and build that. The traditional model was that I took my father's business and then incrementally stepped up, right? Maybe brought in more foreign technology or created a bigger front end or whatever. I think that is the piece that is going to wane away because people are now wanting to chase new ideas. That doesn't mean that the traditional businesses are not required. Somebody needs to manage them, consolidate them, and run them and create more value, right?
And just to look at your portfolio of companies, you're backing a lot of startup companies like Zomato, whether it's Acco or Delivery or Licious, but you've also got your checks in on some of the traditional businesses as well, the likes of Arvind and so on and so forth. So, and I know that, like us on Young Turks, you've never believed in chasing valuation. You've always believed in chasing value. So when you make these investments, what are you betting on?
No, first, of course, what is absolutely universal is the macro. What's the size of the market? What's the size of the profit pool? And are all the other paraphernalias in terms of government policies, no concentration of supply or buying. No concentration of buyers or suppliers. All of those absolutely traditional things that you would learn in school. But finally, how to sculpt that opportunity is in the hands of the entrepreneur. So are you backing the right entrepreneur who has the ability to imagine what is possible from this macro opportunity and has all the other qualities, right? One, you can have the right imagination, but if you're not a good people's person, if you can't put a good team in place, if you don't have the right attitude towards governance, if you don't invest heavily in building scale and investing in technology, making your business really robust for the next decade, you are not going to be building a successful business. So whether an individual's idea and determination and entrepreneurial power will get translated into the organization. To build an organization that sustains and scales over a period of time, keeping in balance the requirement of all stakeholders is the biggest call every investor is taking. So in multiples, as you very correctly started, we worship entrepreneurship. We are investing there because we truly believe in the capability of the entrepreneur. So we want to be the wind under the wings rather than say that it is thanks to us that these enterprises are getting created. Even in a controlled situation, we are betting on the management. We are backing the management to go out and build the company. You have to identify the blind spots. You have to have that conversation and be that supportive investor who is walking hand in hand and fixing the gaps rather than trying to get behind the steering and start driving the car.
I took you through some of the investments and I took our viewers through some of the investments that you've made, but was there any founder in particular, when you were having the conversations on whether you should join as an investor or not, that completely blew you away with their vision, imagination, what they intended to do, and has that borne out in the way that they pitched it to you?
Yeah. So I will say that in multiples, we are proud of each and every investment. We don't necessarily...
No favorite children.
No favorite children. We really deeply respect each of our entrepreneurs. Early on, we invested in delivery, right? Meeting Sahil, given how young he was, probably 27 or 29, you could make out in the very first meeting, the determination he had to go out and build, the way he would take calls, the way he would interact with his co-founders. So many questions we would have in terms of when it scales up and something becomes a bottleneck, how will he deal with it? He said no to his key customer because some of the practices in the customer's premises he felt would damage the reputation of delivery. Who does that when you are that young and desperate for business? These were great confirmations for us that this guy cannot fail. Similarly with Harsh, right, in Dream11, that when you are investing behind a business which has its own regulatory, kind of headwinds, how would you tackle it? Again, the maturity of the entrepreneur with Varun in ACO, the way he understands deeply the business and the bold steps that he is able to take. Or Licious, Abhay and Vivek to go out and say, I'll build a direct-to-consumer brand. And when you have so many very, very deep-pocketed consumer companies. But there is no one way in which you can get the best out of each of these entrepreneurs. Multiples way of engaging with each of the entrepreneur is fine-tuned to who the person is, what motivates them, what exacerbates them, what are their strengths, what are their blind spots, which is the best way to influence them and get the best potential of the company and of the market. That's where I would say, people are very proud to say, my way is this one prescribed way. This is how I do business. When you're a private equity investor dealing with such wide variety of entrepreneurs in a high growth market, which is volatile, which can have some completely unforeseen situations thrown at you, either from competition, regulations, or whatever it may be, it's very important for you to adapt to each individual and get the best out of that individual.
I would like an honest insight into what it was like for you when you actually, you've been around for 30 plus years, you've done the stint as a banker at ICICI, so it wasn't as if you were fresh off the boat, so
Correct.
to speak. But nevertheless, you're still entering rooms that are largely men.
Yes.
Men in suits. For a woman in a sari to say, look, I'm doing my own thing, I'm starting my own private equity firm. What was that like for you? I mean, what was the reaction? What was the response? And I'm sure that, there was, of course, all the positive stuff that you spoke of. But what were some of the other misconceptions, the other preconceived notions and ideas that you had to battle?
Yeah. So I would say that, Shereen, the world probably is divided into people who have this bias that they cannot think of a woman as an equal professional and would carry the notion that a woman will give up or a woman cannot, deliver as well as a man, given the same platform. I experience it even today. I feel that, there is a negative bias because some men cannot be, cannot elevate themselves to look at a talent as a talent, irrespective of the gender.
I like the way you framed that men can't elevate themselves to see you as equal. Yeah.
And I have learned over a period of time not to bother myself, not to correct their impressions, not to have any negative, bitter feelings about them.
Yeah.
Let them be. Right? There is a vast world out there which is giving you the benefit of doubt. But even today, sadly, I have to say that there is a bias not favoring the woman. It's okay to pay a woman director lesser than a man director, right, on a board. It's okay to pay a woman employee lesser than an equivalent man. It's okay to make an assumption that the woman will be the one who will compromise her job if the family needs her time and not the man. So some of these things are going to take way more time to fix.
But two young women who are looking at starting out, maybe as founders, I hope we see more women founders in this country, but who are looking at careers at this point in time and, still dealing with the lack of role models. I mean, today it's very, very different, but still dealing with concerns, questions, doubts. What is it that you would tell them?
I would tell them that, double down on your conviction, brazen yourself, become very thick-skinned, look at who is supporting you and gravitate towards that, and don't bother your head and you consume your bandwidth about somebody who did not give you the benefit of doubt. And you have a job to do. Are you interested in fixing the world, or you are interested in getting ahead and getting your job done?
I want to talk to you about resilience.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to you about resilience in the context of your own journey, in terms of your own lived experience. Where do you derive your strength from? Where do you derive your inspiration from? Where do you derive your imagination from, today, for instance?
I think a large part resides in your mindset, which fortunately for me comes from genetically from my parents. I think my father is a very, very positive mindseted man. I think living with them, he has passed that on. And my mother is an extremely conscientious person. So that has come from her to me. So when Subiksha happened, which was a very famous failure of mine, I was for a brief period of a few months looking at probably my career has ended. And it is such a sad story that I worked so hard for 25 years and I wanted to make a great career. I wanted to build a great institution in ICICI Venture for alternate assets. Just when that happened, I had, no exaggeration, at least a dozen of my entrepreneurs who I had backed in ICICI Venture, flying down from different parts of India to come to my office to give me only one message, that let this one Subiksha experience not change you. I would say that I get my energy through these reinforcements of people, our entrepreneur ecosystem, who come back and say, there will be occasionally some setbacks, but please don't. Two, as I said, my team. It is for me such a great pleasure and privilege to walk into this office and work with them.
It's interesting that you brought up Subiksha. And there's a lot that one learns actually from failure and from loss as well. Do you believe that you understand your founders who are part of your portfolio companies better because you yourself are a founder?
Yes.
Do you believe that there is a greater alignment of frequencies there because you understand what it takes to start up, you understand loss, you understand failure much more personally than somebody who's been an investor and has only invested through the course of their career?
Exactly. So right from the beginning, when I got into this career, I would tell my team in ICICI Venture that don't look at an entrepreneur as a client. Look at yourself as a partner with that person. Together, you're going to build a business, right? And here in multiples, we call each of ourselves a multiplier because we kind of multiply everything in our portfolio companies, right? So we tell ourselves that we are entrepreneurs first and investors next. So we don't think from spreadsheets. We don't think from numbers first. When a threat happens, we see that as an opportunity rather than something where we have to run away and look at the exit door first. Which is why multiples came forward to invest with PVR and Arvind Fashions and these companies which had to shut down because they were just physical businesses, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the business happens in physical premises.
Through COVID.
We were right there to invest because fundamentally we have invested in understanding what the business is all about, what their strengths are all about, what the team is all about, and therefore our confidence to step in at the time of crisis and be that anchor, be that rock solid trusted partner for our entrepreneurs is literally unmatched.
You know, we're talking about your investment philosophy and your investment style. I want to talk about what Renuka Ramnath does to invest in herself. So, I know music is a big part of your life and it's been a big part of your life. Yoga is another thing that you're passionate about. What else? What do you do to reinvest in yourself?
Actually, I get quite replenished when I come to office. Strangely, work replenishes me. Working with
so you're not just
capable
a worshipper
people,
of entrepreneurship, but you're a workaholic
as well. But I enjoy it. I mean, I don't feel burdened by it. More recently, I would say grandchildren. When I spend time with them, that's the end of the world. So family and friends is, again, very important to me. Family is very, very important to me. And I'm also blessed with a fairly large circle of friends who are very caring, very loving, very genuine. So, I get hugely nurtured by all of them. So walking is another passion. And invariably, in a week, at least 3 to 4 days, somebody or the other is coming asking for career counseling, personal advice, or parental advice.
So the agony aunt. Are you the agony aunt?
Not really an agony aunt, but much more in terms of, things that are confusing to them and, how should I take my life forward? Should I really continue with my career? Should I do this? Should I do that? Probably I should make more time for recreation, but I don't suffer from a feeling of imbalance because I enjoy every minute. I mean, I don't do things that stress me out. I only do things that bring joy to me.
Well, that's a good approach to have, and that's a good place to be as well. So, to sum it up, Renuka, what do you believe you would describe as your leadership language?
I am unfortunately not a big subscriber of many notions about being a corporate leader where you have to be ruthless, you have to be, only result driven and so on and so forth, or you've got to be a very aggressive negotiator and so on and so forth. I treat my colleagues like my family members. We have built a culture where we have taken the trouble to understand each other. And we've created a bonding which is deeper than just engaging at the level of work and being superficial to just get our work done. And what this does is that it has built a culture where in multiples, everyone wants to see themselves successful and their colleagues successful as well. So they look at the positives, and you become much more understanding and accepting of some of the weaknesses that the team members have.
You know, it's interesting because many of those attributes, you know, the hard negotiator, the aggressive leader, and so on and so forth, this is the masculine leadership that we've been accustomed to. So to change that, has that been a conscious effort? Has that been something that you've consciously designed? You know, because then you get tagged as the feminine leadership, but it's the human leadership, right?
It's human, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And especially in the current world, I think this is the only sustainable way of leadership. I mean, I go to bed every day thinking about what kind of stress levels my team members are going through and what can multiples do to alleviate it. You know, working today is very different from when I started my career, because there were no telephones, no digital, no nothing. At least when I reached home, I was disconnected. Today, there is no way you can be disconnected. It brings a very different, level of stress. So in multiples, you know, we started with one of our key values is win-win. Everybody in the world says that, but to live it is a very different thing. And, I would say that the weakest person dealing with us, which could be the vendor who supplies vegetables to our pantry or the person who decorates our office with flowers. The tendency will be you can push them back, you call them, make them sit in the reception, tell them, aaj check nahi milega, come after 15 days. And poor fellows, what can they do? Multiples is an important customer. I set the value system absolutely straight and kind of uncompromising from the beginning. That when someone deals with multiples, whether it is a guy who supplies potatoes to me or my largest LP, right? They don't have to watch their back. If you call them your partner, you are watching their back. And you are not going to do a single thing which is a win for you and a lose for them. I am extremely proud to say that we have never compromised this, despite demon, despite slow economic growth, despite COVID, and what have you, in the last 15 years. So if you build a nurturing environment, which is demanding of performance, which is demanding of high competence, a highly learning, agile environment, but very supportive, very trusting.
And
I think, the results that you can deliver over very long periods of time will have a multiplier effect on the short-term gains that you may have.
Well, Renuka Ramnath, what an absolute pleasure it has been to speak with you. I hope you continue to build the win-win culture at Multiples and also each of the organizations that you do touch by way of your investments. And I hope that many who have watched this program take away from you what strength and resilience look like. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shereen. My pleasure to talk to you.
Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Leadership Language. Do remember to log on and visit CNBC TV 18 Access, CNBC TV 18 Prime. We'll be back again with more conversations around leadership. Till then, from the team, goodbye and thanks for watching.